Gauteng ANC Caucus in the provincial legislature is briefing the media right now on the outcomes of its two-day Lekgotla, and Manqoba Mchunu is there to give us an update. Manqoba?
Through some of the key decisions that were taken in the last 3 days, the ANC Caucus in Gauteng held its Lekgotla, where certain decisions were taken. Without any waste of time, I'll hand over to the Chief Whip to take you through some of the key decisions that came from that Lekgotla. Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today to brief you of some of the key outcome of our first Lekgotla. This is the first Lekgotla after the elections that were held on the 8th of May. The Lekgotla was driven by a theme that was adopted, and our theme is having 3 elements. The first one is action-driven discipline and political clarity. And why those? Those came as a result of our analysis of what happened in the last elections and what the message we receive from the electorate is. And at the core of that message, we understood the electorate to having said to us as the governing party in Gauteng that they are giving us a last chance. That's what we understood, because as we went around and do the door-to-door and so on, we heard the issues that they were raising. And primarily, they were not happy with the state of our affairs in terms of how we were governing the province as such. But we also acknowledge the fact that if you look at the track record of what the provincial government has done thus far and the role that the legislature has played, there is much progress that has been achieved on quite a number of issues. But we, however, wanted to chart the way forward. Now that we have a mandate from the people of Gauteng, what's next? We then agreed that we will then take from the ANC Lekgotla itself, and we also focus on what the President would have said during the State of the Nation address. Primarily, we're informed by the manifesto of the ANC. What are the key issues that are coming from that manifesto, or the key priorities and commitment? Because our task is to translate those commitments into government program, but also ensure that there's implementation thereof. Remember, the legislature placed the 3 critical roles. One is lawmaking, the second one is oversight, and the third one is public participation. How are we going to ensure that these key priorities are done? The first priority that we agreed upon is that we need to focus on economic transformation and job creation, primarily because many of our people out there would have said to us as the ANC that they don't have jobs, and we need to do something to do that. The second one is education, skills and health. The third one is consolidating the social wage through reliable and quality basic services, special integration, human settlement and issues of local government. And I must emphasize that part of the issues we raised as a caucus that we must ensure that the provincial government invest more on local government, because we think that that's where things should be happening. When our communities are complaining of service delivery, they use local government as a yardstick for that to happen. But we also have called that there should be an integration between what provincial government is doing and the work that local government is doing. That is why we invited in this session the chief whips of the local municipalities in order for them to share some of the challenges with us, but to share with us the vision of the future as we proceed. We're also going to focus on issues of social cohesion and safe communities, and also contribute towards a capable, ethical and developmental state. We think this is one of the important issues, because if you go out there to communities, part of what communities are raising is that this government is not serving them very well. In some instances, government bureaucracy is not treating our people very well. That's why the issues of confidence get wings. And also our contribution towards a better Africa and a better world. In the context of our work as the caucus would be, what are the best practices out there that people are using to hold a government accountable? Now, the point that we want to emphasize to the people of Gauteng is that the legislature, or this caucus, is going to ensure that the legislature becomes the tribune of the people, that this legislature becomes the center at which our people would be raising their issues on, and that we become the true representatives of our people. So some of the decisions that we made is that we are going to strengthen the PCO, Parliamentary Constituency Offices, which offices are supposed to be linking the work that we are doing as government and our communities. Our assessment is that in the last 5 years, yes, indeed, work has been done through these committees, but we think that more should be done in these committees, in these offices. And we want to say, even though the PCO might appear as the ANC PCO, it is our view as this caucus that those PCO must serve the people of this province equally. In other words, nobody should be discriminated, that you can't be saved because you are not necessarily a member of the ANC, because we want to believe that those offices are necessarily meant to ensure that the government serve the citizen of this particular country. We also took a decision that we are going to strengthen the work of committees, because committees are important in holding government accountable. In other words, there shouldn't be anything that happens in the province and none of us can give an account of. But we're also going to be, because we had the Premier who also was briefing us on the kind of work that they will be doing in the next coming 5 years. We are going to have the State of the Province address tomorrow, wherein the program of Gauteng Province is going to be unveiled to the people of South Africa. We said to our communities, use the 5 priorities to hold the government accountable. If the program of the province is to create jobs, we must ask those critical questions. How many jobs? From which sectors? Who are those people who are going to benefit out of that? We will also serve as a linkage between those different stakeholders. If a program in Gauteng, like TEP 1 million, is intended to benefit the young people of Gauteng, it is our work as a caucus to facilitate and ensure that we link the people, the young people of Gauteng, through the work of committees with that particular program. The objective there would be to ensure that when we say this much jobs have been created, we are able to quantify that kind of work that's going to be. So our committees are going to be strengthened, and our committees are going to ensure that they hold the MECs or departments that they will be doing work on accountable. But we also said they encourage MPLs as public representatives, because we are going to be allocating them into different constituency offices. We are going to encourage them that they must, when there are sessions of legislature, they must bring motions, petitions that has to do with the communities that they are serving. So if I'm from Ratanda, I must be able to talk about the issues of Ratanda. If I'm from Soweto in Tladi, I must be able to talk about the issues of Tladi. If I'm from Kutong, I must be able to tell provincial government that, look, there's a possibility of sinking of houses and all of those kind of things. That is the spirit that we want to encourage. We are saying that these MPLs must be the true representative of the people, and they must be able to be held accountable. We will be holding them accountable as the office of the chief whip, working together with the speaker in ensuring that all of these decisions are being implemented as such. But for us, we will also ensure that we do our work with regard to issues of political management within the province. The stability of the political stability of the province is very important to us. Therefore, we'll be engaging with the different parties that are in the legislature itself in order to ensure that at least, at minimum, there should be some things that we agree upon as different parties in Gauteng as such to ensure that those things do happen. For instance, if we look at the priorities that are there, we will be surprised if those priorities do not receive the necessary support from the different parties that are there. So all that we are saying is that we will continue to engage with parties in order to ensure that there is some understanding of some kind, taking into account, of course, that we differ, but the point there that when coming to the people of the province, we all have to work together. And we are saying so to the parties because if you look at the election outcome, in particular the participation by the citizens of the province, as a caucus, it's a concern to us that many of our people seems not to be participating in a democracy as they are supposed to participate. And the big question would be whether people are losing confidence in public institutions like ourselves. It's something else that we need to look at. So we want to encourage political parties that with regard to ensuring that public or our citizens do participate in political processes is very important. We can't be happy that, yes, of course, elections came, we've won the elections, but many of our electorate are not participating in our processes, and therefore we're happy. That is why we're saying we want to turn the legislatures to be the true parliament of our people as envisaged by the Freedom Charter itself. One of the decisions we took is that we do not want rhetorics anymore. Part of our work is that in the priorities that we have worked in, we have come up with a 2-year program that we are going to ensure that our committees focus on it in holding a government accountable. In other words, what we are saying is that in the next coming 2 years, we can't wait for 5 years to come. In the next coming 2 years, we want to see tangible changes with regard to commitments that, in particular, the Premier would be making on the first. In conclusion, we are confident that we've heard what the electorate, the people of Gauteng, have said to us. And if you look at the 3 elements of our theme, the first one being action-driven, that's very important. We are saying that time for rhetoric is over in Gauteng. Everything that is going to be presented on the table should be action-driven. We want to see the actual implementation. The second point is that the discipline. We were saying to public representatives they must conduct themselves as per the oath and commitment that they've made to the people of Gauteng. For instance, when we made those oath and commitment, we said we will owe our allegiance to the Constitution. Nowhere in the Constitution are we told that we should be corrupt. So we will expect the public representatives of Gauteng not to engage themselves in anything that is unethical, in anything that is corruption. So corruption will be one of our enemy number one, that in playing our oversight role, we will be intensifying. The third element, of course, is that there should be political clarity. The people of Gauteng should not second guess where we as the Parliament of Gauteng want to take Gauteng to with regard to the issues that they've raised with us. So we're calling on all public representatives that they should have a political authority on the kind of issues that our communities have raised with us. So this theme is the theme that is going to be guiding us throughout the work. I would like to give the Deputy Chief Whip to brief us on the issues of women, because we are taking the issues of women very serious. That is why the first day, that is on the 27th, the first day of this Lekgotla, we had a women's planning caucus, wherein they would have looked at a variety of issues that need to be advanced by this legislation. Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Chief Whip. Thank you, Chief Whip. I think the Women's Caucus set on the 27th, and that was the planning Lekgotla for the incoming Lekgotla in November. Why we had this Lekgotla or this planning session was that we're supposed to bring all female members of the ANC on board about the role of the Women's Caucus at the Legislature. And we're together with our ANC Women's League. The plan is that what we have discovered is that some of the legislative policies are preventing women to play their role. We're coming from the campaigns, the elections campaign, and we have heard what our people are saying. And some of the roles which we need to do, or some of the review which we need to do, it's on the Child Maintenance Act, which was taken, I think, in 2015, but it's not implemented of garnishing those who are not maintaining their children. So we want to make that act being active, and we've also agreed that we need to encourage our women to be friends of the court so that they can support the victims. Victims of sexual harassment. We know that if you see people supporting you, you get encouraged, because the perpetrators get through and win the cases because the victim was afraid or sometimes did not have a support at the court, and they were not advised accordingly. So we're going to build those supportive system at a local level for our victims to be able to be encouraged to lay their charges and win their cases against the perpetrators. And some also of the policy which want to be reviewed, it's one on the issues of discrimination in allocation of houses. The Act says what they want a person to have dependence, but sometimes nature prevents you to have dependence, and you need you qualify to get a house because you're not working, you don't have a house, and you are above the age of 18 for you to get a house. So it's your right. As a woman, you can't get a house because you don't have children. You have to seek support from your relatives or to any person, and that creates a conflict at the end of the day in terms of the estate when nature comes to you, that or reality that maybe you pass on this world. And also you want to encourage those women to make AMA wills so that you can be able to, when you are no longer in this world, so that the law can appoint the person which we have appointed while we are still alive as to who is supposed to take over from your estate. So those are the some of the issues which we have discussed. But also is that to was to induct the new MPLs, women MPLs, to understand that at the legislature there's the Women's Caucus, and the ANC Women's Caucus is leading in the establishment of the multi-party Women's Caucus at the legislature. So if we're not there, somebody will take that space. So we don't want that space to be occupied, except to be occupied and be led by the ANC Women's Caucus. So those are some of the issues which we have discussed. And the others, the Chief Whip has dealt with, because we're supposed to lay a foundation for EXCO to discuss, the ANC EXCO to discuss, and also the following day that the whole caucus to take decisions on. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Perhaps before I allow for a question and answer session, maybe I think the one point that I think maybe the Deputy Chief Whip can elaborate on was the issue around gender mainstreaming, as to how it fits on your agenda. I think it's important that maybe you say something around the issue of gender mainstreaming.
Okay. Thank you. On that question of the gender mainstreaming, I think we have dealt with that question thoroughly. We want all the departments, starting from the ANC, that all the issues and all the departments, they must take the issues of women seriously. And there's an outcome that we have said that we're going to re-establish the gender, in fact, it's a GOD committee, which was held before at the legislature. By then I was not there, but when the resolution, I came in when the resolution to disband it was taking place, but after that we wanted to be reviewed and come back, and at the office of the Premier that a desk must be established again. So we have seen also that in some of the departments the issue of gender is not being taken seriously, and at the level of the high decision making we have seen that there's a lack of a senior management which are female members. So we want that decision, or want that at that level that female members must be also taken seriously, that they have the right and they do qualify to occupy those positions, and that is the case on that.
Thank you, David Chief Whip. I'll just move the mics here. What we're going to do, colleagues, is that we're going to open up, we're not many here, so I think all of you probably will get a chance to ask a question or two, pose it to the other Chief Whip or to the Deputy Chief Whip in terms of what they've presented before you. If I could say, we'll have maybe 2 rounds of questions. You can ask, when you raise your hand after you're noted, just introduce yourself and the media house you represent, and then the question, and indicate the question that you want to pose, and then either the Chief Whip and the Deputy Chief Whip will help each other in terms of responding to some of the questions. If I can see by show of hands, if they are...
All right, so that's where we're going to come out of the ANC caucus. They've just concluded a 2-day Lekgotla that's been taking place in Irene, just outside Pretoria.